Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron. It is the instant match reaction. Everton 3, Crystal Palace 0 at Goodison Park. Wow, what a performance that was. By far the best performance of the season by Frank Lampard's Everton team today, ending the run of 3 straight defeats, of course, with an absolutely phenomenal display. I don't even know about just the best performance of the season. It's arguably our best performance in the last 12, maybe even 18 months. You could say Brentford in the Cup, when Frank Lampard first got the job was up there as well. But today, we were just absolutely phenomenal from start to finish. Second half especially, we completely turned it on. Some of the football that we played, the football for the second goal was absolutely excellent, from Jordan Pickford to the centre-halves to Mikalenko, all the way into the midfield, and then obviously landing at Anthony Gordon's feet to end it. The third goal, Dwight McNeil's goal, is just absolutely... I don't even know how to describe Alex Iwobi anymore, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, because he is bordering on Lionel Messi at the moment, and it's a little bit silly. It's a little bit silly just how good of a footballer Alex Iwobi is, and that flick is just absolutely astonishing. By the way, he literally flicks it and runs off to celebrate because he knows it's going into the back of the net. He knows McNeil's on the other end of it. It's an absolutely unbelievable finish, and we needed that today. We've had a couple of poor performances, we've had a couple of poor results, and, as much as I don't think there was much pressure from Evertonians, as much as I don't think there was an awful lot of, questioning the manager from Evertonians, there was certainly a lot of outside noise. There was certainly, a little bit of worry, a little bit of stress, a little bit of anxiety surrounding, Everton's form at the moment and where Everton currently are, because obviously of what we went through last season. And, as I said, the performance on Wednesday night against Newcastle was absolutely dreadful. But today, we turned it on and we showed exactly what we can do today. We showed exactly what we can do when we turn up, when we apply ourselves well, when we fight, when we battle, but also when we've got that little bit of confidence. It was a confident performance today, a performance of 11 players on that pitch who believed in themselves, believed in their own ability. And Crystal Palace are a decent side. I think Crystal Palace had lost one game in the last 6 before this one. Managed to get a point at Anfield early on this season, and they've had a relatively good start to the Premier League season, and they're not a team that a lot of sides will turn up against and just absolutely wipe the floor with. But that's exactly what Everton did today. You would have, looking at that Everton performance today, you wouldn't have thought we would have just gone, 3 losses on the bounce. You wouldn't have thought we were a team that there was a little bit of worry about, and, people were having conversations about potential relegation battles earlier on in the week. It was absolutely brilliant. I mean, every single player to a man was fantastic today. Jordan Pickford didn't have an awful lot to do, but what he had to do, he done well. I don't even know if he made a save in the game, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't even know if they had a shot. But both fullbacks were brilliant, and both fullbacks deserve credit, because ultimately I sat here yesterday when we done the preview and I mentioned Vitaly Mikalenko and Seamus Coleman, and said I felt they'd both be very lucky to start this game because their performances of late have not been good enough, and I don't take that back, because that was absolutely the case. But today the pair of them were brilliant. That was Vitaly Mikalenko's best game in an Everton shirt for me. It was his best game in an Everton shirt, certainly his best since probably Leicester away towards the back end of last season. He was absolutely brilliant. Everything that comes to him, he dealt with. There was a couple of times when, he was dealing one-on-one, whether it be with Zaha or Ayew or Mateta, when he come on and he stood his ground and he defended it well. Seamus Coleman on the other side, he loves a game against Crystal Palace, Seamus Coleman, doesn't he? He absolutely loves Wilfried Zaha, because every single time Wilfried Zaha is on that pitch against Seamus Coleman, he just has the better of him. He's got his number, and today was exactly the same. It was a real throwback Seamus Coleman performance, and one that, I think we can all look at and be very happy with, and I think he'll look at and be very, very proud of as well. Again, he's looked like he's struggled in recent weeks. He's looked like he's had a couple of performances where players have got the better of him, and, pace and positioning and stamina and stuff like that. And, I've watched him a couple of times recently and thought it's not really fair, because, ultimately it's not his fault that he's not up to the pace anymore. But today he was up against, a forward who not only likes to throw himself on the floor and cry constantly, but then likes also to kick players and elbow players and stuff and moan about that as well. But at the end of the day, he was up against the forward who's quick, who can beat a man, who has been a a seasoned Premier League forward for a long, long time, and he just absolutely dealt with them all game. Had no issue dealing with them whatsoever. Couple of really good recoveries, couple of really good bits of body movement from Seamus. He was brilliant today. He was absolutely brilliant today, alongside the two centre-halves as well. James Tarkowski is fucking outrageous. The kid is fucking outrageous. Gareth Southgate was at Goodison Park today watching that game. And look, I don't really care for England. I'm not really interested about who goes, who doesn't go. I just don't have that relationship with the national team that some people do. But if James Tarkowski isn't on that plane to to the World Cup within the next couple of weeks, then it's an absolute travesty, because the fella has been unbelievable all season, even in the games that we've lost, even on Wednesday night, when most of the players were really, really poor and most of the players struggled, etc., etc. He was the one that stood out. He was the one that you sort of went, yeah, he's been man of the match today. Today, he was unbelievable. He was absolutely unbelievable. He got to everything. His tackling was brilliant. He was in the face of the referee constantly as well. That's another thing I noticed time and time again today. This Crystal Palace team, by the way, again, they're a good side. They've had a good start to the season. What they also are is a team full of players that will kick you up and down, will cry when they get kicked, and they're a team full of players that play the game dirty. They're a dirty side, and every single time one of their players was in the face of a referee, every single time one of their players was, trying to manipulate the referee, who was easily manipulated, by the way, because he was the worst referee I've ever seen at Goodison Park. The fella simply wasn't fit to be there. He embarrassed himself today. He absolutely embarrassed. He should be ashamed of himself. How Jordan Ayew, Wilfred Zaha, Joachim Anderson, or whatever his name is, how they've all stayed on the pitch is beyond me. Absolutely beyond me. The three of them should have been sent off, along with a couple of other Palace players who had multiple yellow card offences throughout the game. The referee completely lost control of the game, completely lost control of what was going on, and as I said, he should be ashamed of himself. But every single time Palace players were trying to manipulate him, were trying to get in his face, were trying to kick us up and down, James Tarkowski was there constantly. There was one moment in the first half, I've just been talking to Matty about it, where Everton had the ball, and there was a clash of heads between Connor Cody and I'm not sure who else it was. It might have been Anderson. And Everton had the ball and the referee blew up because it was a clash of heads, whatever. But then when he was ready to restart the game, he gave the ball back to Crystal Palace, despite the fact that Everton had the ball in the first place, which is ironic because about 15 minutes later, there was another situation where Palace had the ball and the same thing happened. And then when he restarted the game, he gave it back to Palace again. But anyway, in that first one, the minute the referee gave the ball back to Crystal Palace, James Tarkowski darted about 60 yards across the pitch to get in his face and to scream at him and to say, hang on, how does that work? We had the ball, it's our ball. It's things like that. It's things like defending your teammates when they're getting fouled. It's things like getting in the referee's face and making sure he knows that you're a leader, making sure the players around you know that you're willing to sit there and stick up for them. Connor Cody's exactly the same, but I just thought Tarkowski was absolutely phenomenal today, and we will do the player ratings a little bit later on. But I'll give you a little insight. He's getting a 10 because he simply did not put a foot wrong. He did not put a foot wrong again today, and it was another unbelievable performance, which isn't anything that we're not used to, is it? Let's be honest. He's been brilliant since he come into the football club, but today he was silly. He was absolutely silly, and he wasn't the only one. He wasn't the only one whose performance was unbelievable. Onana in the midfield I thought was great. He had a little bit of a pardon me, had a little bit of a slow moment when he got hurt towards the end of the game. But for the rest of it, throwing challenges in, moving the ball well, picking it up, moving it on, getting it to Iwobi, getting it to Garner, putting himself about, winning balls in the air. He was back to the Amadou Onana that we that we seen against West Ham, that we seen against Southampton. A real sort of top midfield general performance in there. Iwobi, as I mentioned, the fella is the second coming of Ronaldinho. He simply is. The turnaround that Alex Iwobi's had. I mean, my dad's even bought a shirt now. My dad's got a shirt with him on. Now, my dad, about 12 months ago, wanted him out the football club and absolutely despised every time he was on the team sheet. Now he's walking around with shirts of him on and he loves him. He looks like he's going to cry every time he scores. Or every time he does something. He's absolutely brilliant. And look, we don't need to sit here and have the Alex Iwobi conversation again. We've had it a million times. It's all credit to him and it's credit to Frank Lampard. But today, even without the 2 assists or the 100% battles won or the hang on, let me get the rest of the stats up. I should have had this prepared, but oh well, it's live. And what? 100% tackles won, 87% pass accuracy, 53 touches, 13 final third passes, 4 ball recoveries, 3 key passes, 2 out of 3 long balls completed, 2 assists and 2 big chances created. Even without all of that, his effort, his desire, his work rate, his commitment, his battle, his press was brilliant today. I thought the press was very, very good from everybody today, but Alex Iwobi set the tone. Alex Iwobi set the tone from the outset. He was the first player who was on the toes of those Crystal Palace players. He was the first player who was, he was there trying to break the play up and ultimately put pressure on them and put pressure on what was rightly so our poor Crystal Palace defence. Now, last time I said the team was poor, I got a load of pelters from a certain North East fan group. By the way, shout out to the North East Everton fan group. I've just spoken to one of the lads from there, and he was very supportive. So shout out to them, not shout out to the Newcastle fans. Although if you are watching, there you go. That's what it's like to have a proper footy team. But no, he was, again, Iwobi was great today. And the assist, the second assist, the ball into Dominic Calvert-Lewin is brilliant. But the assist for Dwight McNeil is just stupid. It's absolutely stupid. And talking about Dominic Calvert-Lewin, by the way, that's Dom back to his best. That's Dominic Calvert-Lewin back to his best. And that's a Dominic Calvert-Lewin that will score you goals this season. That's a Dominic Calvert-Lewin that if you give him chances, he will win games of football for you. And again, we only had one shot, I think, today, and one real opportunity, and he put it away, and he didn't just put it away, he sent a fella into next week with his turn. The lad's ankles have ended up next to me in the park end, and he's got through one-on-one, and, one of Dom's biggest critics and biggest pieces of criticism is that when he's one-on-one with the goalkeeper, he doesn't do well enough, or he's not clinical enough, but he was. Today, he got himself in that position, he put it away, and he set the tone for what then went on to be a really, really good performance. Not only that, but every aerial battle that he had to deal with, he dealt with, winning the ball in the air, bringing it down, a real sort of... I don't like using the word bully because of the connotations it has in other in other phases of life, but he bullied the centre half today. He really, really did, and that's the Dominic Calvert-Lewin that we all know and love. That's the Dominic Calvert-Lewin that you're seeing is getting closer and closer to being 100% fit and closer to being able to play 90 minutes and continue. It was arguably Dom's best performance in an Everton shirt for me since even his injuries towards the start of last season. You could argue it's his best performance in an Everton shirt since the first couple of games of last season. He was dominant today, and he was a proper centre forward. There were periods of the game where I think Everton were a little bit sheepish. I thought the last 15 minutes of the first half, we were a little bit standoffish. We probably could have got at them a little bit more. We maybe invited them on a little bit. Don't get me wrong, they did nothing in the game whatsoever. They didn't create anything. They didn't really put us under any sort of pressure. They had a couple of corners, and as I said, a couple of neat bits of defending by the two centre-halves. But other than that, there wasn't any real sort of issue. But I just thought we stepped off the gas a little bit when we went 1-0 up, and it was, a couple of the passes were getting wayward. I thought Garner was good in patches. I thought he was very good in patches. I thought in other patches he struggled a little bit. Again, maybe playing 4 games in a week or 3 games in a week, whatever it is catching up with him a little bit. But I thought in other areas he was very, very good. He was very, very good. But look, I criticised Frank Lampard on Wednesday after the Newcastle game. I criticised him on Thursday, and I sat here yesterday and said, changes need to be made. We cannot go into this game with the same team because it doesn't work. We can't go into this game with Anthony Gordon and Damari Gray. We can't go into this game with Seamus Coleman and Vitaly Mikalenko. We did. We've just shown that even with the same team and even with the same system and the same tactic and the same instruction, that's what that Everton team can do. And we're not going to do that every week. But I didn't expect Everton to win a game of football in that manner this season. You know, I sat here a week or so ago and said, I don't think there'll be anybody that we completely wipe the floor with, because we don't score enough goals. I didn't think I'd ever see Everton score 3 goals this season. And B, it's not really the tactic. Usually we go 1-0 up and then we sit back on it and we try and defend the lead. Today I was wrong. And I'm happy to hold my hands up and say I was wrong. Seamus Coleman was brilliant. Vitaly Mykolenko, amazing. Anthony Gordon, again, best game in an Everton shirt for a long, long time. Damari Gray, touch and go, was okay, worked hard, battled. His output for me still is leaves a little bit to be desired. But, you know, everything else was hard work, was battle, you know, was there. And, you know, we were really, really, really good. It was a phenomenal performance, and a performance that we can take confidence from, and we should take confidence from, and we should, you know, be able to move forward and think, right, okay, that's the standard. That's how well we can perform, not just in terms of the effort and the work rate and the desire, because, you know, we all know that this Everton team have had that this season, but, you know, we've got Fulham next, away from home next Saturday, and then we've got Leicester at Goodison Park. I fully expect us to beat Leicester at Goodison Park, and Fulham away. You know, again, it'll be a tricky game, but again, a game that we certainly can win. But that's how we can play. That's how we can play. That's how well we can play. That's how well we can move the ball. If you haven't looked back and watched the second or the third goal, again, go and watch them. The football is amazing. It is just Everton taking the piss. That second goal is just Everton taking the piss. And it shows what we can do when there's confidence, when there's ability, when there's confidence, when there's momentum, and when players are, you know, are feeling themselves in the game, and you know, confidence in their own ability and their own quality. And that's exactly what can happen. That was the same team, the same tactic, the same manager, the same style as what turned up and were absolutely toothless against Newcastle. Were clinical today, and could have had more. As I said, if we would have been a little bit more proactive in those last moments of the first half, we could have had more. Andrew says Gordon's goal was miles onside. It was miles onside, mate. Again, the officials today, all of them were just, they were awful. Every one of them were shocking. Third goal was pure filth, says Wonderlust, mate. Alex Iwobi is just, I love the kid. I absolutely love him. He's amazing. And massive shout out to Dwight McNeil as well, who you know, we can all sit here and praise Alex Iwobi and talk about how great it was and the skill and the flick, etc. But Dwight McNeil does fantastic as well to pick the ball up, drive with it, get in between players, play the ball out, and then get back onto it and finish it. It's a really, really good goal, really, really good finish, and a really good bit of play by Dwight McNeil. I thought all of the subs done well. McNeil, come on. As I said, got the goal, looked confident. You know, that will help him a lot. Garner, come on, threw himself about, moved the ball well when he needed to. Decore, very similarly. Mope, not so much, but again, didn't really have much to do either. Inky says, not sure what we'll do versus Fulham. That they're very unpredictable. I haven't seen Everton's tweet, by the way. I haven't. But I will go and have a look at it. We only got the VAR decision our way because it was too obvious to fudge the line, says Adamski. Probably. And it wasn't even close to being offside. It wasn't close, mate. And Lampard knew that, because the minute the referee, the flag went up, Lampard had already looked at the telly and said it's a goal. It's a clear goal. Which you know, showed how clear it was. So yeah, look, fantastic win, brilliant result. As I said, unbelievable performance. Not just the best of the season for me, arguably the best in a long time. So hopefully we can build on that now, because that's what we're capable of. That's what we can do. That's how well we can play. So we shouldn't have to be sitting here talking about toothless performances against Newcastle with no shots on target. We had 6 shots on target today. 6 shots on target. That's, you know, considerably more than we've had in any game this season. So it shows that we can do it. I think having Don back fit is a massive part of that. He was phenomenal today. But as I said, everybody was. So big thank you all for watching. If you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. It does only take a second. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. We'll be back with the player ratings. So join us for those. If you're watching the YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below. But yeah, brilliant win, brilliant performance. And yeah, just Everton on a Saturday night taking the piss. something else happened earlier on in the day as well. I think another team lost, which was nice to see. But there you go. Big thanks for watching. Up the toffees. See you later.